everybody. Welcome to the Space in Between podcast. I'm Shawnee, and tonight is episode 11, The X Factors of Marriage. And back with us, we have the third person of our crew, Cherie, who is rounding us out with Ty, and her husband, my wonderful brother-in-law, Lorenzo. And tonight, guys, is a special treat because we are going to get some marriage advice from these two who have just celebrated 28 years of marriage. So, everybody, welcome.
That's right. So, just started off. How's everybody doing? How you doing, Cherie, Lorenzo?
Good.
I think we're good. Yeah. I think we're good. Today's been a busy day. We are out on our porch because we have a fan being installed in our bedroom. We have kids downstairs. Our little house is full, so we're out here.
Full and busy.
So you're in a beautiful background, and it does, again, I think the outside backgrounds, it looks so nice. Have the pop of green. So it looks like one of those fake backgrounds, but it's real. So
it does look a little fake.
It does.
At the circle. I was
oh,
that looks like
it's like your head is right.
Yeah.
It does.
I'm like glowing.
But we're
right
good. We are, in our community, what's happening tonight, it's 8:00, but we went to a little protest at Lincoln Park today, and they said they were going to pull down the
Emancipation statue.
Lincoln and the slave.
Yeah.
Really?
Right, because we all know what that statue looks like.
Absolutely.
Remember Jesse Holland?
Yeah.
Remember Jesse Holland?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The guy from Mississippi? Yeah, he did a book about, DC, culture, and he actually, part of it was actually, he talked about that statue. And, it was supposed to be Lincoln raising up the slave, where it kind of looks like he's holding them down. Yeah, so it was supposed to be a rising slave, and anywhere you look at it, I always thought it looked kind of problematic.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially you got Mary Bethune over here, and you got this.
Yeah.
Standing eye to eye,
Yeah.
or even the two of them side by side looking out into the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
so many different ways.
Yeah. So anyway.
So how are they, how do you know that? Like in this meeting last night, was it a strategy meeting?
There was a speaker. There was a guy speaking, and he just formed like this nonprofit, sent out something on an Instagram, and there were about 1,000 people who showed up in Lincoln Park yesterday.
Really?
And he the only thing he did that kind of changed everything is that he announced to everybody that yesterday he announced that today they were going to tear down the statue with ropes. So National Guard got dispatched today.
Okay.
Police are there. So apparently they've moved it to another date.
Okay.
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 Because he can't. It's like a covert operation that has to happen. You don't go around announcing.
The use.
Yeah. Well, we give it up to them for that.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Let's see. I got my hair done, and that was an experience. It was an experience. Cherie and I go to the same place, so she had that experience first. And so it's interesting to, I think, go back into these spaces that are so familiar in COVID, and so the hyper focus, which I appreciate, of making sure everything's clean and everything is sprayed. But I just realized how the stress level that it causes, and even doing these things. And so, but I was happy to be out and about and to do those things that are just life-giving and normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was good from just the psyche.
Good head wash.
Exactly. It's nothing like somebody else's hands washing your hair. So that was really good. And so it was good. It was a beautiful day. And I spent much of it reading Animal Farm, which I have not read in a long time. So
your eyebrows look really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I went to that place, and I think it's called the European Wax something. And it was really good. It was quick, and it wasn't pain. It didn't cause pain, which I'm a crier when I get my eyes waxed. And I always have to be like, stop, wait, let me just, and then But
so funny. Do they use tweezers or they use like a?
no, I don't know if it was a gel. It didn't feel like a gel. I don't know. Maybe it was like a wax. I think it was a wax because it's European wax. It's a wax. But it wasn't like the sheet and then the rip.
Right.
So I don't know what process, but it was very good. And the customer service was great. And
Painful.
I will be back in 2 weeks.
Well,
So we just hope that the numbers of COVID do not rise so that things continue to stay open. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 20 plus states though are saying otherwise.
Yeah. And Kyrie was holding down the house today while I was out. So how are you? How was your day?
It was good. Obviously I did work, but had some good time with the kids. We were out and about, going to the park and just playing. And then we went to the I found a tennis ball, and we went out to the tennis court. Now we didn't have racks, the tennis racks, but we were just throwing the ball at each other. So it was just the four of us out there just throwing the ball back at each other, and then the girls arguing about who's keeping score and what the score was. So your middle one is really.
Yeah. She's very competitive.
She likes to make the rules up as she goes along. So whatever
in her favor
is the most convenient to her getting the most points, then that's the rule she likes. And suffice it to say, I got to the point I was like, you know what? I'm going to let that child win because I just don't feel like dealing with her attitude and the crossed arms and all the huffing and puffing on the way back. I said, I'm just going to let you have this one. I said, we're going to work on that later, though.
Yes, you were like, I'm not going to go through all that because I'm going to be sitting down with Cherie and Lorenzo talking about love and marriage.
That's right.
Tonight. Yeah.
Love and marriage.
Love and marriage. Well, with that, we are going to start. Let me say before we start that when this show topic came up, I was like, oh, that'd be great. You all, they just celebrated their 28 years of marriage. Was it Saturday?
Yeah.
Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, maybe I can ask folks to send in questions about marriage that they want to know. And boy, did we have gotten so many questions.
Yes.
And it would be a completely different show, you guys, based on the questions that we had, which were, not.
It was kind of like in The Wire with Marlo Stanfield when he's talking to the security guard. He looked at him in the face and said, "You want it to be one way, but it's the other way."
It's the other way.
It's the other way.
It's the other way. It's the other way. It's the other way. So I think you guys are. So I just want to say that I'm so excited for you guys to both be on. Lorenzo, this is your first time in this space. So welcome. Yes.
I'm honored to be part of it.
Yeah. So, and I'm excited for folks to be able to hear from you guys and your wisdom and just how you share. So Cherie and Lorenzo, one of the pieces of advice that we got from them was that marriage is not meant to be lived within your four walls. And I can honestly say that they have not lived their marriage like that. And so we're grateful. This is a demonstration of you guys not living your marriage inside your four walls. And so we're all going to be benefited and blessed by it. So before we get into the questions, I do want to say we are going to honor questions that came. Okay. We may not get to everybody's question because we had a lot, and I still had questions coming in right up until exactly. So we might have to do a part 2, or I don't know. But we are going to honor the questions that came. But before we get into the questions, I just want you guys to share how you all met, the origins of your love story.
Oh.
I'll let you go first, Cherie.
Okay. We both went to UVA. Mm-hmm. And we met at a party. We met, was it U-Haul? Mm-hmm. It was like, he was.
U-Haul.
It doesn't matter. He, Lorenzo was a year older than me. I was freshman. He was a sophomore. And a young lady actually brought me over. And I think she was dating Lorenzo.
Not exactly, but that's okay.
I think she thought she was dating Lorenzo.
In today's vernacular, it was complicated.
It was complicated.
Well, okay. So anyway, she brings me over, and because I think we were talking about being international relations major, and she was like, "Oh, you got to meet this guy I'm dating," and his name is Lorenzo. And so I go to the park, I meet Lorenzo, and we just kept talking and talking and talking, and really enjoyed the conversation.
Great conversation.
But I was already dating someone else that I met on campus, like
First week, right?
Day.
First day.
And so I really was just enjoying the conversation with Lorenzo, because we connected because his dad was foreign service, my dad was military. So there's a lot of connections.
Yeah,
and then from there a friendship blossomed. We never dated in college.
We were really good friends in college.
Yeah.
Had some of the same classes. I actually liked hanging out with her. I remember, like cooking her breakfast, inviting her over, and she comes with her boyfriend, which was fine at the time. But I really enjoyed being around her, and it was fun. I was disappointed when I found out that she, when we first met at that party, that she was dating a person who eventually we became fraternity brothers. And we actually were called to pledge, I think the next night or something.
The next night,
wow.
We went online. So, and I didn't find out though that they were dating until there was this event where you sort of they call it rent a crescent, and her boyfriend rented her. And
all this is before Jesus.
Yeah.
Our sanctification process.
Yeah, that's a disclaimer there. But that I was upset, but at the same time, I was like, well, there's a code that we don't cross, right? We don't.
And Lorenzo's an honorable man.
Yes, he is.
So I didn't do anything, but we just remained great friends, and I mean, we continue to have these great conversations throughout I guess, 3 more years in college for me, and I graduated and moved back home, and she was still, at UVA for the following year, and I didn't see her until. Can you tell me how many years was it after?
we were going
to take the LSAT.
Yeah,
right?
so it wasn't long after graduating.
So
87.
Yeah, so she came. She was taking the LSAT. We both were taking the LSAT, but we were taking it at 2 different places. She was taking it at, I think, downtown Baltimore, and I was taking it out in the county. I ended up saying, well, when you're done with your LSAT, let me know. I'll come and get you guys. It was her and her girlfriend.
I'm missing the good part, though. I ran into him again.
No, that was after. That was after the LSAT.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that was after the LSAT.
Oh.
Yeah, that was after the LSAT.
So I lost connection with you after you were so kind to me.
Wow.
Maybe not.
No.
Okay,
no, it wasn't
that stupid. So.
We were with the Lorenzo.
28 years, memory.
Anyway, I was working at the State Department. Lorenzo was working for a firm in Georgetown, right?
Mm-hmm. Foggy Bottom.
And Foggy Bottom. And I saw Lorenzo. I was at the top of the metro. I saw Lorenzo on the platform. I'm coming down, and he's already on the platform. And we're a loud family, right, Chantel?
Yes, we are.
Wow. Because I was like, wow.
Like,
yes.
Who would have thought to see Lorenzo here,
right.
Bottom, Metro Center. So that's when we kind of reconnected after college. And again, it was a friendship though. For a while. Yeah.
So then skip forward to the LSAT. We take the LSAT, 2 different locations. I pick her up and her girlfriend from college,
Monique.
Mm-hmm. And I take them back to my apartment. Well, first I say, you guys hungry? And they're like, starving. And I said, okay. So we go to Giant Foods in Baltimore, and near my house. And I say, pick out whatever you want. I'll cook you steak, so they pick out like
steak, baked potato,
broccoli,
mushroom.
You opened yourself up for that one.
It was great.
Rookie.
Wow.
It's all good. So I go back to the house, and we're exhausted after the exam and everything. I'm like, you all just relax. I had 2 separate, 2-bedroom apartments. So you guys take this room, relax. I'll make you dinner, and I'll take care of I'll
Okay. So, all right. So he was really kind to us, to both of us.
Yeah.
And so Lorenzo is just the consummate host.
Oh, he is.
So he knew we were exhausted, and he's like, I know you want to relax, and you probably want to, take a shower or something. And he didn't have a shower in his apartment. He had an old-fashioned claw bathtub, and he literally drew our bath, and he made bubbles. Well, he drew my bath, and he made bubbles. And I just was like, who is that? Lorenzo's such a good guy. I mean, because there was nothing.
Double take, like.
There was nothing.
It was the bubble bath. I heard about that bubble bath.
It was nothing romantic, but it was just the generosity
Yeah.
of, let me take care of you. Let me make sure you ladies are okay. You know, you're my friends.
Yeah.
And it was, that stuck with me. That
Let him the dinner and
the dinner, of course. Yeah.
Told him, good night. And
and then he watched soccer or whatever. Like, he left us alone too, which was really lovely.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. I knew about that. That bubble bath. That was a defining
I had no idea.
moment. That was like,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
In fact, we both Monique and I were dating other people, and of course went back and said, you don't seem to do bubble baths or anything that would even look like an extension of just that host, that generosity, that care. Yeah, it was
sweet.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
We kind of went our separate ways after that. I mean, we stayed friends and tried to stay in contact. This was actually before cell phones, really, so we didn't really have that ability to to stay in contact like that, or even before email and stuff. So this is late 80s, early 88, 89, 90. But so she's dating, her friend, and I'm dating this young lady as well. And it's wonderful, but I run into Cherie again. That was where we saw each other. That's because then I invited you to the Christmas party at the law firm. Remember?
Yeah, but it wasn't then.
And then, okay. So it's kind of blurry, but all I know is that I ran into her again.
Because you invited me to baseball games, and I just would say yes.
And so she was like my buddy, and so I was like, now my girlfriend at the time, had moved to a different city. And that was fine. We were still talking, and I would see her, but Cherie was like, in my life, and was my buddy, and I actually preferred hanging out with her even over my male friends and stuff. And so it just became one of these things where we're just hanging out as friends. We would go to these museums together, and it just was
eat for free, do the embassy receptions, and mom actually though planted the seed.
Yes.
Mom and dad, I think, were like, what's going on here? And even Uncle Lonnie, when I said, oh, we're just friends, and he was like, yeah, friends, right. But mom tried to she said, Lorenzo's this lovely guy, and I don't think she really knew anything about Kathy. And she said, I know this wonderful young lady who's an engineer, and they would just be really, I could just see the two of them together. And I said, no, I don't see that Lorenzo has time for a girlfriend like that, because he has me, he has a girlfriend, and then he has me. I don't think you need to introduce him to anyone. Now, Lorenzo, he was like, why are you blocking my...
Mom, you want to introduce me to somebody? Fine.
Right.
Yeah. And then she said, well, if I were you, Cherie, I would be checking out Lorenzo. And that's when I was like, huh.
And one day it clicked when we were out in Baltimore, and we were looking for something to get some gifts and stuff. And I remember
Christmas,
and we were crossing the street. It was and I remember grabbing her hand across the street, and we got across the other side, and I didn't let go.
Oh.
It was just, and he's never let go. He never let go. And I didn't let him let go.
Oh, that's sweet, guy. I didn't know that story. I like that. I like that. Well, that is good. So it was just unexpected. Unexpected. It was unexpected. All right. Well,
you know what? Unexpected, but you know what? I'm so glad that it was. I mean, there was a plan, right?
Yes.
Because I met her.
Yes.
And I remember my dad telling me when I asked him a long time ago, when I was 8 years old, I asked him, I said, Dad, how will I know, when it's the person I want to marry, it's the right one. And, in his infinite wisdom, he took a long pause, looked at me, and he said, son, you'll know.
You'll know. You'll know. Yep. You'll know.
The infamous, you'll know.
You'll know. Isn't that
I don't
true,
want to
though?
answer that question.
It's like that, but you do know. Like it just, it's like you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, that is good. I think that, people have a sense of your beginnings and your story and images of hand holdings and it's so like it's a movie. It's very romantic. It's very romantic. I love it. We're going to get into questions.
Okay.
And these questions are coming from people in all different stages we have some questions from some folks who are single and are hoping to, find what you guys have found in each other. We have some questions from people who are engaged and are, looking forward to start their marriage. And then we have some questions from people who, I would say all the questions I think are from people who are married around 17 years and less for those who are married. So just to kind of give you a range. And we have questions from people who are in some hard places in their marriage. So it's kind of like a variety.
Very separated to those,
separated.
Through all the different stages.
All the different stages.
Wow.
All the different stages. Just to kind of give you guys a...
Well, anything we say is an offering. We are not.
It's an offering. It's an offering. And I think it's great.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get into it. So, married 28 years.
Yes.
Did you get who you married?
Did I get who I married?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely, and so much more. I did get who I married. I got this man here. I got integrity. Adoration, deep friendship, generosity, which is a theme that Lorenzo has taught me in our marriage. So and so much more. I actually thought I loved Lorenzo when I got married, and it doesn't compare to the love I have for him now. Wow. It doesn't even, I didn't even know really it's like a gift that just keeps unfolding, you know?
Yeah.
So yes, and so much more. I got the important things, Kyrie, the things that was important to me in a spouse, for me, but so much more.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, same. I remember observing and being friends with Cherie and UVA, right? So I had a chance to see her. You were 18. It's like 18, 19. So I got to see her, in an environment with different people. And when I first met her, it was when I saw her, I was like, this is just a wonderful, intelligent, beautiful, conversant, engaging person that listened. I mean, she let me talk. I let her talk. She was hearing me. I mean, I was definitely listening to her. And, there was just this energy and this aura around her that just kept that attracted me. Even when we were friends and I knew that I could not, engage with her in the way that I probably wanted to as a relationship with her, but it was more of like, this is a person I respect and honor. And that hasn't changed. And the fire that she brings that is the same, she still has it. And, that energy and that, the je ne sais quoi, as we would say from my upbringing in France. I mean, she has it, and it hasn't changed.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
That's great. That's great. So, lots of people give lots of advice especially when you're starting off in marriage. And so one person who is on their way to marriage, is engaged, wants to know, what was the worst and best advice, marriage advice, that you all received prior to marriage, if any?
The best and worst advice?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't really get too much advice. It was, I mean, her parents, her dad, your dad, your father-in-law, he, God bless him, he helped me, make the right choices, and was putting me through some tests that I didn't realize I was being put through.
Right.
Right. And he showered love on me, and I saw how he was engaging with his family. Even in my family as well, I watched my dad and my mom, and while some of it may have been complicated, there were times where I realized my dad provided those important things, and so I just kind of followed example. I didn't really have anyone say, this is what you should do, or this is what you shouldn't do, or this is what you can expect or not expect. It was, I mean, my faith, I was young in my faith, and so I did, hear from pastors about, how you stay committed, and you marry, and you love one another, you respect one another, you trust, and things like that. But in terms of actual, tangible, practical marital advice going into it, I don't really remember getting that.
Well, I got some advice.
Okay.
But I was thinking, when I think about that question, I really had to back up and say, who did I give my ear to? So I may have gotten bad advice.
Right. Right.
But I didn't give my ear to everyone. So in terms of who I was leaning in to hear advice from. And as Lorenzo said, our parents, mom and dad, had they had a rich marriage that ended until death did them part. And so they finished well. And when I say a rich marriage, I say that it had all the things that you have in a marriage, the good, the bad, the ugly, but there was always so much love. And so I was able to witness the two of them, their marriage. And I was able to witness them even encouraging other marriages, which is probably where I learned, marriage is not this privatized affair. Like you actually need community, trusted community, not a whole lot of people here, but you do need to reach out to people who are older than you, who have your values, similar values, and so forth. So mom and dad were places of places of wisdom. Dad, I was sharing the other night, Dad told me, and this advice has saved our marriage early when we hit some rocky places.
So everyone lean in now, lean in.
So this might sound incredibly, in this day and age, we're all bringing our piece to the table, right? And so I'm going to say some stuff that might sound old-fashioned. Let me just put it like that. But Dad told me at the time we got married, Lorenzo was going to law school, working at during the day and going to school at night. I was at the State Department. I was actually making a little bit more money than Lorenzo, but Dad told Lorenzo, he communicated, I guess, to him, if you want to get married, you need to get a house. So Lorenzo,
he was pretty direct about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
he said, make sure you have a roof over your head.
A roof over your head, right? And so Dad, so Lorenzo went about getting this roof over our head. But he told me, whatever Lorenzo can afford, you make a home there. And some of my friends were putting their resources together to qualify for the financing. And I kind of you know, resented it a little bit because we could have gotten a bigger house. I mean, we're still in the house that we bought, and we love it. But Dad was like, you know, well, you make a home where he can provide.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just listened to him. And I didn't understand it all, but I'm so grateful that I didn't require of myself understanding. I trusted the advice because I trusted who was giving it, because I saw the fruit.
Right. Right.
So, and it kind of went against some of my woman, you know, I'm making, you know, but I'll tell you, later into our story of marriage, because we were not burdened with a higher mortgage, when we hit our wall, we were well positioned not to lose our home, and we could have. So we you know, so that was some really good advice.
Yeah. You don't hear that advice a lot. That advice, you know, I got the same advice. I think we all got the same advice, and it's been one of the best pieces of advice that we've been given, I think, and one that I definitely do share. That was really good. Yay. The house, whatever he can afford, you can make it a home. Yeah. And gratitude.
And gratitude.
And gratitude. And gratitude. And gratitude. Yeah. Okay, so this I don't know, this might tie to it. This question comes from actually a fellow, one of the fellows out there submitted a question. And so the question is, the concept of submitting to me being him, has been challenging for my wife. Can you share what submitting looks like in your marriage?
Interesting, challenging for his wife. I wish he were here.
Yeah.
I just, while Lorenzo's thinking, because he's like, Lord. Okay,
how do I touch this one?
Getting back to advice, I also want to say we started out our marriage in the church, even though we were young believers, very wobbly, no full revelation of a lot of stuff, but we knew, and we were covered well by pastors, the pastors who married us, where we had one premarital counseling session, and that was interesting, and that's all I'm going to say. But we were given, when we first got married, and I brought it, a Bible, and it's called the Couples Devotional Bible. And I had my sister who's visiting, Cherie, pull it for me. And she said, you have worn this Bible out. And I was like, people want to know, this is the secret sauce here, because it allowed us to, they have questions, and it allowed us to enter into conversations with these questions. And we also took advantage of every marital resource our church had. Our church, Ebenezer, AME Church, and then when we moved to From the Heart, Pastor Cherie, every time they did something with marriage, we were there.
Treats,
every time. And I can't say it's because we were holy rollers. No.
Right.
It's just that before I married Lorenzo, I had other friends, and
really
that I was dating, but I remember getting on. I remember
something.
He knows. I remember praying, and I said, Lord, you know, I believe that Lorenzo's the one, but I need you to just give me peace about that. And then I said, and I want the marriage you had in mind before the fall. I want that marriage. So you know, and I know that there's going to be a lot you're going to have to work with, but that's I want your vision for marriage, not my vision for marriage. So I say that to just kind of say the submission piece, because we were in a place of being in church.
Right.
Pastor Cherie did kind of this teaching on submission. And this is a young man this is a guy asking this question, right? And he actually had the men first submit to their wives. He asked them, how are you submitting to her help, to her influence? How are you even showing her what submission looks like? How are you submitting to the Lord? Because he was like, most times women don't have a hard time submitting.
Right.
You know, and and we could unpack that word.
Right.
But we are not called to, we also are iron sharpening iron.
Right.
Yeah.
So my submission doesn't look like agreement on everything. It looks like respect. It looks like honor. It looks like generosity. It looks like leaning in, really trying to understand. And it also looks like me bringing my brain and saying, okay, this is how I'm understanding, and this is maybe the areas I disagree with, and that's okay.
Right.
To disagree. So, but there's something powerful when I don't know if you remember, he had all the couples stand up and face each other. And he had the men say,
I submit to you.
I will submit to your holy influence, to those things that, you know, I'm going to listen more.
Yeah.
Plus he turned this to the, you know, the scriptures about, you know, how Christ submitted, you know, and then how we submit to Christ. And so just that example
really taught well
of how to submit. And he said for us to, as men, you know, to the fellow out there who asked that question, you know, to submit. You know, I don't know if this person's a believer or not, but to just be humble and to let go of that ego, where you see your spouse, your wife, as a helpmate, not as someone who is countering you or confronting you constantly, or you know, disagreeing with you just for the sake of disagreeing, but that this person is bringing her portion, the portion, you know, you married this person. There's something obviously in this person. So it's about humility and keeping the ego in check, to say, you know what, my wife here is giving me advice or saying something that actually is going to bring life to me and life to our family. And then to, obviously you're not giving up who you are, but you're accepting that advice and then taking it and saying, okay, I will use that as part of leading my family through whatever it may be.
Right.
Which gains even more and more respect from your spouse, because she now feels, hey, this is a joint effort. Yes, in the end, maybe he's making the final decision, or he believes he's making the final decision, and that may be what helps.
Right.
And then, you know, you move out, and it usually works its way out. But there's this humility that has to be front and center.
And I know we have a lot of questions, but I wanted to add one thing too. Lorenzo has never, ever told me to submit to him. It has never come out of his mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's always been gentle and patient. He's been Christ to me. Yeah. Even when I've been wrong.
Even when you've been wrong. And I love, like, what you're saying, or what I heard was that you first were in submission to God's plan for marriage.
Yeah.
His best plan. So there's that first, you know, like what your marriage is submitting itself to.
Right.
And doing it in that order helps you, right?
Right.
Makes it possible. That's really good. That's really good. So one area that I think all couples kind of struggle with at one point or another is communication.
Oh, yes.
You know, women, it says, are from like one planet, what is it, Mars, guys are from Venus or something like that. And so it is a thing, like it can go this way. And so over the years, have you two found effective strategies? So this is like are there any practical, like, we do these things that help you be better listeners to one another and better communicators?
Well, for me, I can tell you, it's to recognize when we're getting into a conversation to force myself to actually say to myself internally, I'm going to hold opinion, I'm going to hold comment until she has hopefully finished her thought. And try not to interrupt until, and that's hard because there are things that are being said.
That's hard.
That is hard.
During that conversation where you want to interject right away because you may forget it, or you just are so annoyed or whatever, or you're just emotionally ready to say something. But I try to force myself. I say to myself, just hold. I think you all use the word, hold.
Yeah.
Holding on to not allowing my flesh or whatever thoughts to come out right away. And then allow the complete thought and hope that she is finished. And then try to offer my thoughts to the comment or the conversation on the issue. And hope that she will allow me to finish that portion of it as well. And I think, and so it's a patience.
Yes.
That's required. And I didn't always have that. I mean, sometimes I would, just go silent or just be like,
Leave the room.
my toes would curl, I'd get annoyed. I wouldn't feel like I was empowered to say things because, and so I just held and not say anything, which wasn't really, that's not good.
So it's all correct. So Lorenzo and I, another piece of advice I got from Dad, learn people, study them. And our family, Chantel, our maiden name is Fitzgerald. And so we're all about, good. Oh, wait, we probably need to light back. Yeah. We're trying to figure out our light here. Oh yeah, that worked.
That's good.
Oh, that's really good.
That's really good. Good.
So I realized I was very comfortable in confronting.
Yes.
But I studied my husband, and I said, oh wow, I couldn't be just wonderful. I mean, I know I'm doing some things that are just not, not right or getting on his nerves, but he didn't readily confront. And so I had to learn to create, to pursue conversations where I could invite him to give me feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
Because in my family, you fought, but you still stuck it out. And in Lorenzo's family, you could fight, and I mean, his parents were divorced, but you could even within the families not speak to each other. Like that was an option.
The consequences were different, right?
Consequences of confrontation.
Yes. Yes.
So he had to kind of learn it's okay for us to fight. Like I'm not going anywhere. We're not, but we had to learn how to confront well. Part of community fair. And you don't start out getting it right always.
I was going to ask, there is a question that came, and it seems like this might be the right pocket for it, but when you were angry, or if you've ever been angry, right? How did you deal with that anger, especially Cherie? Were you ever angry enough where you wanted to hit him?
Lorenzo's laughing.
Don't laugh too hard, man. It can still happen.
We didn't know where to fit this question in, but this person
how
asked
do we
the
put this
question
in?
3 times, and
But
I'm
you gotta ask
okay,
it.
I'm gonna try and ask it.
Sadly.
So there's a good story.
Sadly, yeah.
The anger, you got to tell
so
that.
I'll tell it very quickly, okay? And everyone will side with me, okay? So like I said, Lorenzo, first year marriage, Lorenzo's in a law school, and he's just the super student. This man is diligent and, committed to his work, and that was great. But I had a function, just one function that I really wanted him to go with me to, and it was the Aftercare Christmas dinner or event. And I was like, Lorenzo, can we put it on your calendar? We can go, and I made sure that he knew in advance, blah blah blah. And Mom and Dad went that night too. And I will say, anyway, so we go. Lorenzo's not excited about going. It's almost like, what did you say? And now that I know him, golly, now that I know, I was like, oh, I probably needed to keep telling you.
Right.
Right? But I didn't know that. You learn your people. So it comes and he's kind of resenting going with me. And I had never, ever seen Lorenzo behave in a way where he wasn't a gentleman. He misbehaved at that Aftercare event. I can't think about it too much.
He's making you.
I know. And so it was a rainy night, and we're driving back, and he's like, can you share with me how to get home? And I'm like, make a right, left. I mean, even to the point where we were at the stop sign in front of our house. Turn right here, park the car. I mean, I was bad because I was really upset. Yeah. Why you just misbehaved at this event? And it was astonishing to me.
Right.
So we get in the house, but I had just taken a conflict resolution class at AID, USAID, where I worked, and it had all these steps to conflict resolution.
You were like, I can try this.
So I got myself together, right? I collected myself, and I said, sweetheart, I would like for us to just kind of talk about the evening. I just need to share my heart. You know, they just tell you to share all the things. And this man told me, not now. And walked out of my face. Went into the little study, which is now our firstborn's bedroom, and we're right off of that little study. And he shuts the door because he got work.
He shut the door.
Yeah. Lorenzo.
That's like a rule, man.
Whoa. Didn't know you had it in you.
That's a rule.
Now,
shut the door.
I sat on my bed, and this is the question we ask ourselves. I sat on my bed. And you got to know yourself.
How heavy is this vase?
You need to understand how you're wired.
Right.
Because sometimes we like to think that we aren't capable of certain things. But if you can tell yourself the truth about yourself, then you can make a good decision. So I sat on that bed, and and he's in the other room, and I'm in our bedroom, and I said, I could accept that what he just told me. And there was a part of me was like, you know what? If this is the marriage we're gonna have, where you can behave like this, I can behave like this. Like, my capacity to not be as honorable as Lorenzo, I knew was there.
Right.
But I said a prayer. And the Lord rescued me out of that moment. And he was like, is that the type of marriage you want? Is that what you want? Because I was in a career, it was international, it was fun, I could be, whatever. Right. And Lorenzo, and so I said, no, that's not what I want. I don't want that. And he was like, then fight for your marriage. Now, he probably didn't mean for me to do what I did. I cannot blame God for that.
But
so once I said, no, I'm not settling for this. Right. I marched down the hall, and I put on a pretty lingerie to have the conversation. Because I thought, it'd be easy for him to have kind of, be helpful.
Help him out, right.
Calm the situation down. Tension.
Down
right.
Down our hallway's not that long.
Right.
And I'm like, open the door, and the poor man probably didn't have time to react because I kicked the door in.
Boom.
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 Door gets kicked in. Like, it's coming off.
In the lingerie. So you know it's serious.
I went crazy. And all of these things happen very quickly, right? My hair is looking like Medusa because it had just been rained on. And I'm in his face saying, you don't have any time. I did say that. I did. I'm aware that our audience is mixed, but I did say,
I'm saying
you don't have time. Let me tell
Right.
you what happened to your time. June 20th, 1992, your time
it was my time.
is now our
Our
time.
time.
I've heard a version of that.
That's right.
That thing in our marriage. I've heard
That's
versions.
right, because I
of
grabbed that.
towards
I was
me
like, oh,
in
I'm
our
going to
marriage,
use
so I
that.
know this.
That's good.
I know
I was
this.
waiting for the day. Oh, I can use that. Bam. See, there you go.
She sure did too.
I did.
And
I did.
Lorenzo, he oh my gosh, and he just was like, is she gonna hit me? I mean,
He was like, I'm afraid. She turned crazy.
he was like, she's going
He
crazy.
saw your monster.
My monster.
Your monster came out.
We had one of the best conversations out there. Because we really,
Yeah, that was good.
You were authentically fighting for your marriage.
yeah.
How you knew how, and he was, and he knew that I don't have any time or space not to engage it. I guess it's happening right now.
It was like, I don't care about
Right now.
this. Yeah.
I love that. Because
So, as we talk about that, and about this intimacy space, that's a very big topic, especially for not only newlyweds, but those that have been a little longer in the tooth in marriage. So one of the questions was, what is a reasonable expectation of va-va-voom in a marriage?
And to add on to that, are you, as the years go on, are you growing in love, or are you really growing in friendship?
Love. I mean, friendship deepens, but love, for me, I'll say love. And I find myself looking at Lorenzo. There's a new level of desire. That's also, so that's the love.
Right.
But then there's the desire, but
that va-va-voom.
The va-va-voom.
Yeah.
When we got married, we received a piece of art from a friend of ours. And when I first saw it, because, I was a Christian, and I did not understand the piece of art that was given to us. And unfortunately, because I didn't keep it, because I think I had a naive kind of understanding of, I misinterpreted the art, because it was it was an older couple, and they gave us this piece of art, and basically, it was a table, and they said sometimes it was a table, and on the table were the two wedding bands and a pair of reading glasses. I love that. I mean, I have to get it recreated, because there was such wisdom in that painting. And so what that painting was trying to communicate, that as the years go on, sometimes you can just lose sight of one another in the marriage, sometimes just the day in and day out. And the woman who gave me the painting, again, this gets back to advice, because I wasn't really overly impressed with how she and her husband weren't doing their marriage, although they are still married and they're probably 40 something year. I didn't hear from her as well, but she that sharing of some in the reading glasses, of which I have now, it's the older couple,
right?
But she was talking about how you keep the desire. How you've got to, our marriage can be loaded down with so much responsibility, but that fire, that desire, that ability to see, to take the glasses off, but actually go back to the seeing of the soul, the spirit,
Yeah.
and what made you fall in love and what made you desire in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that ever remembering your spouse is an unfolding mystery. I will never know the depths of Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Not the full.
Not the full. I won't. But that's okay, because that's the mystery. That keeps that desire, because on one hand you have the stability of marriage and the reliability and all those things, and that can kind of, it's like it's a sure thing, right? But then you have this mystery, this man who I don't know all about him.
Right.
I don't know everything he's thinking now.
Yeah.
I want to know after the podcast.
Right.
Right. I want this right in.
Right.
Part 2.
Right. So
The
Baba Boom is definitely there, and that energy and that fire, that desire.
And Shawnee, probably it's important, to keep the friendship. I mean, the love goes deeper and deeper and expands, but the friendship, I think, and the foundation that Cherie and I had as friends, we started off as friends, and I think that is, sometimes we get annoyed with each other, and then we laugh about our, friendship in the past and how we were actually, connected even back then, and I think that's what has transcended and helped us. Obviously the most important things being, God, but I tell you that the friendship that we've developed, even now, to the point where it's a trust, where I actually, to the gentleman's question about submission, and it's like there's this trust and humility that and love that I have towards Cherie, that I know that she has my back, and so things that she may say or do, it's almost like, in fact, I can almost predict now what she's going to say, what she's going to do, and I'll even just say, hey, I'll just do this and see. And it's like, boom, like, Lorenzo, this is the advice I'm giving you. And it's like, I knew it. And that's only comes from time and friendship and trust.
Yeah. But to your point of Baba Boom, he still fills me up, which is great, because I'm 55, I'm a little overweight, and they want to know, is it still a little, fire?
Squeeze the goose.
Fire and desire. Yes. That is there, right?
Nice. I love
That's good. I love that, because that really is a question that was asked several different ways, a couple of times. So it's an important question, and
very important question.
But you also have to work at it too. So desire also starts first with yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't expect him to bring all the magic.
Yes.
Like, I can't look to him what he can't, I have to know, I have to have prepared myself to be able to respond to him. Like, I have to desire
yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
I have to cultivate that within myself, because it's not on him to do all of that, right? Instead of how does he turn me on? It's like, how do I turn myself on for him?
Yeah, I like that.
I
like that.
I like it. I love it. So as we start getting closer to the end of this, I think one good question that came up was, how has your marriage been sewn into over the years? Like, who's really kind of invested that time and energy that's helped you out?
Oh, without a doubt, our church that we're in now, Christ Our Shepherd Church.
Yay.
Stuart and Celia McAlpine sewed into our marriage, and obviously, like I said, our parents. But when our dad died suddenly, and we had our second born, and we had our practice imploding, it was just a lot of things hitting us, and we could have gone this way or that, just because it was not because there's a lack of love or anything. Just, you get beat up. The pressure. You just get beat up in life. And the faithfulness of the Lord to kind of shepherd us into this to this place, Christ our Shepherd Church, where there was a lot of love and intentionality to pastor, to see about you, to care about you. And so they were a lifeline. And they never really, interestingly enough, there wasn't like counseling us. I do remember one time just kind of cornering them in a store, a grocer that's no longer on the hill. I feel bad about it every time. And I was just like, they were like, how are you? And I'm like, this is how I am. I'm a mess, blah, blah, blah. This is what he's doing, and you need to talk to him. And and they were like, okay. And they were trying to cover me and get me out. I didn't even know what covering was.
You were fighting for your marriage again.
I was fighting for my marriage. And they just loved on us, and I was able to see a good marriage.
Yeah.
So I was able to see a solid marriage, a solid family. And Lorenzo had, like, in Stuart, maybe an older brother. Talk to. So I was, we were just, that was a very pivotal, they were critical in that moment in our marriage. I mean, we had we were pretty, but still, you are never, you
need help.
And when you need help, you need to know where to go to get it. You know, and you look at fruit.
Look at fruit. That might tie into the next question. This one is really for those who are dating. What is advice you would give to people who are not yet married, who are looking? We've heard a lot of things. I've heard a lot of different things, of even with your last thing of like looking at fruit and friendship. But is there any advice, especially I would say, just to add on to it, because the dating world is so very different from when you guys started and met, even for Cherie and I. So
yeah.
Well, Shawnee, my one thing that I hold on to and advice that I give when asked is don't be unequally yoked. I mean, that is, if you have fundamental differences, that you think they're small now, they're only going to, and I know this may be a cliche, people say, they're only going to get bigger later. That is very true.
Yeah.
And the same thing with when you are equally yoked, those things that tie you together, that are common to you both, will actually help sustain you through your marriage. So, and I know that a lot of people think, well, I can change him or I can change her. By the time you're, 7 years old, your character is formed. And so you're not going to be changing that person too much. So if this person does things to you that are fundamentally go against your values, your morals, your ethics, but you're willing to overlook that because maybe there's other things that you think will surpass that and mitigate that, not so.
Yeah.
And it may, and even on wedding day, leading up to the wedding, things may be great, but they will come to light. And I've seen marriages, and even advice that I've given people who've gone through some turmoil, and I asked them about how, their beginnings, and I'm like, you all were not equally yoked.
Yeah.
And, ultimately it didn't work out. So my advice would be, and if you're not, get out soon, get out early. I mean, I'm not going to talk about my previous girlfriends, but I can tell you that, I made the right decision with Cherie.
Right. Amen. Let the church say amen. Get out. Get out.
They may be saying something about me.
Never. You're the one who got away.
Get out. I like that. Get out. Yes.
Yeah. Values matter. Values matter. Go home and find out what they're coming out of.
Yeah.
That's important. You need to know. You even if you decide, okay, this person came out of a situation like Lorenzo's parents were divorced, and then we did the family tree, and then we were like, wow, that D keeps that thing is prevalent, right?
Yeah.
But then you even know, but our values were together. We wanted the same thing. We had similar experiences, but we even knew how to pray about certain things. We're like, okay, that could be, that's out there.
Yeah.
So let's pay attention to that.
Right.
And then I would tell everybody, bring your people into community.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who your community is. Bring them as quickly as you can.
And to that point, if the other person doesn't like that or refuses,
that's a flag. That's a problem.
That's a red flag and a problem.
That's a
right?
red flag. Bring it, and then ask your community, what do you think? And then listen. If you keep getting the same answer, listen. Because we cannot trust our hearts, especially when we think we're just in love and all of that. And the heart deceives you. The heart tells you a lot of things.
Yeah, that's really good advice. That's really good advice. And I think that it's so hard to do that, or it's easy to overlook that with technology, because you kind of are building your own cocoon easier than, probably when it was in our time where we didn't have that. So our technology and our information gathering was people,
Right.
I remember like going to people like, oh, Kyrie, and like,
right.
hear from people. That's versus me being able to look everything up, and see what I can find out about him that way. So I think that that's very important to put your
and the community you're inviting to your wedding, right? You're not trying to have most people have some people at their wedding.
Yeah.
Right? And they look forward to that. Well, these people who you want to come to your wedding, they need to come into conversations well before that. And then they need to continue to be there.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Well, guys, this has been, we only got to half, but the half we got to was good. Like, I know you're like, what? Wow. Yeah. Because this is such, I think, a popular topic. It's so critical, right? Who we're in relationships with and marriage. And so this, I know, is going to bless so many people. And we typically close a certain way, but tonight I am led to ask to close a different way. So I hope that you all are willing. And that is to pray for marriages. Would you close us out in prayer and we can wrap up that way?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Thank you. And for those who are single, just cover it. And then we will wrap out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. You start off, please.
Well, Lord, we just first say thank you for just the opportunity to have this conversation, Father, about your good idea, marriage. And we just say out loud, marriage belongs to you. Yeah. Marriage is your idea, Lord. And so we thank you for that. And we want to bless the marriages that are already, Lord, the marriages that have happened, Lord. We just bless them with your wisdom.
Yeah.
Lord, we bless them with discernment, Lord. We bless these marriages with your joy.
Yeah.
Lord, we bless them with your desire, Lord. I pray that you would infuse your desire for each one, for the husband and the wife, Lord, that they would feel how you long for them, and they would respond to you, Lord, and that they would, in that, as they are growing in their relationship with you, that there would be a knitting, that you would knit the two together, these husbands and wives, Lord, that longing they would learn what a longing is for one another, a lifelong longing, a lifelong desire for one another. And so we bless marriage, Lord. And we ask, Father, for those who are on the verge of getting married, and I pray, God, that you would just raise up people around them that they can talk to.
Yeah, Lord.
Even for the married. It's just, Lord, I pray that there would be people that they can just have real talk about whatever they need to talk about. You have the answers, Lord, and your answer is deposited in your people. So I pray that there would be just people who are married, who do have wisdom, that there would just be, they would open up their own marriages, Lord, for folk to just come in and ask questions. That's happened tonight. I mean, so more of that. And and Lord, you know all those who long to be married. Lord, will you allow those of us who are married, would you put people in our hearts and minds to just continue to ask you for mates, for spouses, for some of our friends and family, Lord? And I pray these ones who long to be married would still pursue understanding and knowledge about marriage. I pray that there would just be this pursuit of just more, like leaning into marriage, Lord, leaning into families, Lord. So, yeah, I love, Lord, what you did tonight. And we just pray a blessing.
Yeah, Father God, I come and agree with Cherie's prayer, Father. And I thank you and bless Chantel and Kyrie, Father, for just their perseverance and their desire to do this, Father. And I thank you for each and every question, every person watching, all the questions that have been asked, Father, and hopefully answered, and those that have not been asked yet, Father. I pray that you would help answer those questions for them, Father. I pray that you would turn those who are seeking, as Cherie said, seeking marriage, Father, that they would have wisdom and discernment, Father, to understand and to know who their mate is going to be, Father, and that you would provide them with that mate, Father, and that they would have no hesitation or doubt, Father, once you have spoken to them, that this is the person for them, Father. If you're bringing it to them, Father, this person to them, we know it's the right person, Father. So I just pray for just discernment, for ears to hear, Father, and for eyes to see, to know when you're speaking, Father. I just thank you for just the advice that has been shared, Father. You know that we are far from perfect, Father, in our marriage, Father. We thank you for growing, allowing us to grow in you each and every day.
Yeah, thank you,
Lord. Thank you for just the opportunity, Father, to seek and pursue you, to be the best marriage we can possibly be, Father, for you to say well done to us and for us, and for those as others as well that are out there that are seeking you and want strong and better marriages, Father. So I just thank you for this conversation. I pray it continues, Father. I pray that more questions are asked, Father, and answered, Father, for those that are listening and those that are asking. In your Son Jesus' name, we give thanks and praise for this podcast, Father. Thank you to the couple. We bless Chantel and Kyrie.
That's their marriage, Lord. Yeah.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen, guys.
You know, as we were praying, I just got a word. So for the marrieds, but there's something about being with each other, and it comes out of Genesis where they stood and they were naked and unashamed.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
There's just this beauty of being completely vulnerable to each other, to have no shame, to be before the Lord and before each other, like this openness, this nakedness, this unashamed. And I mean, and that takes time. Like, we're 28 years in. I was speaking indoors year one. So
there you go. Perspective.
Pick it out.
Yeah.
And help. But there's something beautiful about being able to just be who you are, transparent, naked, and unashamed.
Love that. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And to all of that, thank you. This has been very rich.
Oh, this was fun.
Fun. Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys.